Okay, so I'm making this little video to give you some tips for the map reading in Lab 2 here. So the first part of the lab, and let's jump into a little preview here, is going to be over the topo maps. So you should have looked through the other sections in the module that basically talk to you about how to read a topo map. So there's that PowerPoint tutorial. You should walk through that, and it gives you instructions on how to read topo maps if you don't know already. And of course, there's some extra links to that. So this is what the lab is about, is basically practicing that, using this image here, and then figuring out elevations at different points. So you should know what these lines, what are called contour lines, represent, right? Points of equal elevation. Here it's 3,800 feet above sea level. The darker ones are the index contours, and then these in between are not labeled. And so we need to figure out the contour interval, right? So the module tells you how to do that. You need to go and look through those. Make sure you understand how to calculate the contour interval. What do these little triangles mean? What does it mean when the lines are close together or farther apart? What a profile means. All that is explained in the module itself. So make sure you're looking at those few little pages before the lab. They're instructing you on how to read a topo map. So you're just going to go through and answer those questions. For this part, it's going to be all about the Joe's Hill map that was up at the top there, and a profile. And then there's some additional stuff here that's going to help you hopefully visualize in 3D between a topo and a real life image. And then we're going to ask you to look at, as we come down here, some geologic map stuff. So now you got to do a little more work. So one is there is the geologic time scale with these little letters that are in the parentheses. So same thing, there's information in the little module there that tells you how to read a geologic map. One of the things is that every geologic map has symbols. The symbols always start with a capital letter. Those capital letters are referencing the geologic time scale, which is right here. And so if there's a K, it means Cretaceous. What is that? That's the geologic time. What does it really mean in numbers? It's this range of ages right here. Now, so in general, this is what those geologic times, the symbol is a D for Devonian, an M for Mississippian, right? So the symbols will have these capital letters in the front of them to give you an idea of how old certain rocks are. Now, in the description, the key or explanation on a geologic map will also give you some information that might be more exact than this age range. So in that little intro to this lab, I think we showed you, gave you a link to this map here, right? So this is an example of what a geologic map might look like. The colors represent different rocks. There's a symbol right here, right? TG. And so we can maybe scroll. Okay, we can do that. And then you can see that here, the capital letters refer to the capital letters in those geologic time scale. And sometimes in here, it'll give you an age and sometimes it won't. So if it doesn't, then you're assuming the age based on the geologic letter here, right? So, and if it asks you for the numeric, well, we have to reference back to our lovely geologic time scale to get an age range, okay? In addition, we're asking you to, if I come up here, to use this Arizona geological map here. It's a KMZ file that you'll download into Google Earth, and when you open it, it should look something like this. And so the different colors here represent different rock types. As you zoom in, the file is loading, so it sometimes takes a second or two for the file to load. So you might have to be a little patient here. And so once you zoom in, you can see now there's also symbols here. And so what the lab is going to ask you is basically how to read this geologic map, right? So go to a location. How do you go to a location? You can come up here and you can type a location in there. Petrified Forest, search. It'll take you there. You want to know where Camelback Mountain is? Type it in. It'll take you there. Once you get there, then you'll look at these symbols and figure out what's the geology here. So of course, just the symbol, we can just read it off the map here. But what does the symbol mean? this is where you'll have to go back to the quiz here and use this Arizona geologic map explanations. So the file that's open in Google Earth here does not have a key. So you have to come back to this for the key. So if I was in Google Earth, you're going to do a lot of toggling in these labs, and it says TG. I want to know what TG is. So I'm going to go look on my little explanation here, and I'm going to look for TG. When I find TG, I'll know that it's T for tertiary. How do I know that? Well, my geologic timescale tells me. This is a more exact geologic time period, but the numbers are more exact here too. So I can get, and then I can read to figure out what type of rock it is. And so this is how the lab is going to work, right? For, whoops, sorry. This is how the lab is going to work for this geologic part. So you're going to use the map now, and you're going to figure out as you come down here, right, what's the oldest map unit? And the well, we know that the geologic explanation is in a specific order, right? And so we can go look at that explanation and figure the old must be down here, the young must be up at the top, and that's how I can answer some of them. So it's the description. We can just write the description right here, right? What's the name of it? We can just write the name, which is right up here, right? And so you can get the information from the explanation or key, right? So which map unit represents rocks deposited by volcanoes? You'll have to look at each of these 4 symbols on the explanation to figure out which one is telling you it's a volcanic rock. You'll do that a couple other times. You also go to locations, and this is where I was talking about. You can jump into Google Earth, type in petrified forest. It'll take you there, and you'll see the geology of the petrified forest area. Then you can go back and decide that, sorry, I keep doing that. Then you can go back and figure out what those rocks are, and then you can choose what their ages are. And then you can choose what's older, what's younger. You can choose, you know, what rocks are exposed in different areas. So you're going to use kind of 3 windows. You can see I was having a little trouble jumping between windows, but you're going to use this. You're going to use the explanation. So I have these 2 in Chrome in just 2 different tabs, so I can toggle back and forth. And then you're going to have Google Earth as a separate window open. And so those 3 windows you're going to kind of be moving back and forth through to end up figuring out the geologic portion of the lab. Okay, so the topo, it's not too bad. You're just basically using the maps that are provided within the lab itself. For the geologic, you're going to have to go outside into Google Earth for some information, and also open that second window that has the key to the map that's in Google Earth that'll help you with that. So that's kind of how you'll navigate through that. And then the quiz, of course, when you're complete with this and you're happy with your grade, you're going to take a quiz. It's going to ask you to open up a geologic map and basically read it. And it's going to be similar to how you're doing the lab here. So hopefully that helps. And once again, as you're doing this, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to contact me.